Vice President Pence walks out of the Indianapolis Colts San Francisco 49ers game. We'll talk about that. The aftermath of the horrific mass murder in Las Vegas continues with some really heartwarming stories. And a couple other news items that you might have missed. An American villain, some people call him a hero, passed away. We'll talk about all that and more. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. In politics, there's a narrative. There's a story. And people on two opposing sides want to keep the story going with their narrative unless somebody feels that it's a losing narrative, and then they want to get out of it as quickly as possible. So, for example, Harvey Weinstein, who is a movie mogul, he had some really bad news about him break over the weekend, and now the piling on is going. So the Weinstein company, the Weinstein brothers actually started Miramax that was purchased by Disney, and now they have the Weinstein Group, and they made the movie The Iron Lady with Meryl Streep. And now Meryl Streep is piling on because evidently this man was just a bad man and committed very, very egregious, abominable, indecent acts with evidently a large number of female employees and others. So that's a news cycle that the Weinstein family and Miramax and Disney, they want that to go away as quickly as possible. There's no upside to it. There's nothing there that they can champion. With the situation with the NFL, you've got the players saying, hey, we're going to kneel down, we're protesting the abuse of black people or police brutality or whatever it is that they're talking about with the changes. And then you have people saying that we should honor the American flag. And we stand for the national anthem because the anthem is a song about the flag, and the flag is directly connected to our men in the service. It's worth a quick history note about flags. You understand that when two opposing sides went to war, the flag or flags of each side, they were critical because they provided a rallying point. They provided a point where you knew that the leaders were launching various offenses or were gathering in retreat to this flag. If a flag went down and never came back up, the people fighting on that side wouldn't know where to go and oftentimes wouldn't know what to do. So it was critical in ancient war to have the flag raised. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars. In other words, this is all about the flag, and it made it through the perilous night. It meant we're still standing, we're still fighting, we haven't surrendered. The flag was a big deal. Now, in modern warfare, because of the way weaponry works, the flag is not as closely associated with any given battle. You understand? So some people are thinking, well, why is this such a big deal about the flag? That's why, historically, militarily. And then, of course, when one of our servicemen dies, lays down his life, his body is brought back, his remains or her remains are brought back in a coffin draped with a flag. And Michael Pence said, hey, is it too much to ask for people to stand? So he got up and left. Let's read his tweets. He said, I stand with POTUS Trump. I stand with our soldiers, and I will always stand for our flag and our national anthem. He said in another one, while everyone is entitled to their own opinions, I don't think it's too much to ask NFL players to respect the flag and our national anthem. Then later on, there was a formal quote for him that was not a Twitter. He said, I left today's Colts game because President Trump and I will not dignify any event that disrespects our soldiers, our flag, or our national anthem. At a time when so many Americans are inspiring our nation with their courage, resolve, and resilience, now more than ever, we should rally around our flag and everything that unites us. While everyone is entitled to their opinions, I don't think it's too much to ask NFL players to respect the flag and our national anthem. I stand with President Trump. I stand with our soldiers, and I will always stand for our flag and our national anthem. This is a narrative. They want this narrative. President Trump and Vice President Pence spoke about this before. All right, this was choreographed. Vice President Pence knew that if they knelt, he was out of there. And the narrative that they want is one of respect for our soldiers, respect for our flag, and conversely, the disrespect from the other side. Now, I said on this program a couple weeks ago that the team that stood the most to gain from this was probably going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Then owner Jerry Jones foolishly knelt with his team before the national anthem at 2 games ago, and they were booed terribly. Now Jerry Jones has issued a statement saying that anyone on his team who does not stand for the national anthem will not be allowed to play. Now, one report said that they'll be fired. Another one said that they won't be allowed to play. At the end of the national anthem, a couple of the players on the Dallas Cowboys raised a fist, and Jerry Jones refused comment on that. He's going to think long and hard about what he's going to do. But I made the statement that the Dallas Cowboys had the most to gain because years ago, decades ago, they were called America's home team. If you didn't have a team in your area to cheer for, you more likely than not were going to be cheering for the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones is the first owner in the NFL to step forward and say, we are going to stand for the national anthem, and any player who doesn't, they're out of here, which is exactly what President Trump said that an owner should say. This isn't going to go away anytime soon, friend, because of what the narrative represents.
Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible, and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the Church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation.
When the Philistines brought the Ark of the Covenant inside of Dagon's temple, they came in the morning and Dagon was face down, bowing down to the Ark of the Covenant. They put Dagon back up. And then the next day they came and he was face down and his head and his hands were cut off. The idols, head and hands. Surely an angel did that at the order of Almighty God, or Almighty God just did it himself with a wisp of his hand, a flick of his finger. It was an idol, okay? When our Lord Jesus went with the Holy Family to Egypt, history records that as Jesus walked down the roads of some of these pagan streets, that idols fell in his presence, just like with Dagon, falling before the Ark of the Covenant. American football has become an idol. It really has. And when you think about the amount of money, time, energy, emotion that is spent on sports in America in general and professional football in specific, it's worth stepping back and saying, sometimes we just need to get a grip, all right? I love football. I grew up playing football, played intramural football in college. I love football, but enough already. Our eternal souls are what matter. Life and death issues that are facing us are what matter. But football has been a very lucrative pastime and amusement to not think. And we've kind of agreed that we're going to set aside politics, family squabbles, marital difficulties even. We're just going to enjoy the sport. That's for all sports. And the NFL has become, I believe, the second most lucrative sport in America after NASCAR. So there's been this kind of unwritten rule. We lay everything aside and we watch sports, and we start the game with the national anthem. Now, There's a chink in the armor. The idol is cracking. They broke the rules. They made it political. The players made it political, and the owners foolishly did not nip it in the bud. The owners they played the fool in this one, people, because they didn't recognize the end user, but more importantly, they broke the liturgy. Football is like a liturgy. It's a tradition. And part of the tradition is you honor the flag, you sing the national anthem, you honor the flag by singing the anthem, so much so that the NFL rulebook specifically states that if a player does not stand with their helmet in their left hand, that they can be fined, or they can be removed from the game, or they can be blocked from playing. I mean, it's a big deal. You're expelled from the game if you commit an egregious foul, okay? If you get in the face of the ref can throw you out of the game, eject, you can be fined. There's serious repercussions. Well, these players got in the face of the American flag, of the American people, of servicemen. And there are rules, and they broke the rules. And the NFL they're going to correct this, but it's going to be after they've lost a ton of money. And a lot of these players are making hundreds of thousands instead of multiple millions of dollars. There's going to be a hit that's just not going to go away quickly, because the owners don't have the courage. The owners don't have the wisdom and the courage to say, this is over. If you do it again, you're fired. Okay? Here are the rules. And you know what else they're afraid of? They're afraid of court cases, because if they do that, you can bet that the ACLU is going to step up, American Civil Liberties Union, with their left-wing lawyers, and they're going to say that these players have been discriminated against, and they're going to go to federal court, and they're going to try and get a federal judge to reinstate the player. That's how ugly this is going to get if owners do this. So we'll see. We have to wait and see who the first man fired is, the first player fired for refusing to stand. All right, I want to talk briefly about the horror in Las Vegas. As I said on day one, this is going to become a very politicized event quickly, and it has. So now they're talking about making it illegal to buy that little pin, that little piece that can convert a semi-automatic into a fully automatic. But just a word of thanks and honor to the hundreds of people who were on the ground, first responders, police, and just everyday Americans who were there, who risked their lives to protect other people that were there, or to help get them to safety. And they deserve our honor. They deserve our thanks. And nothing is ever going to make this be okay. Nothing is ever going to make it go away. I will just say this, and I know that I'll probably take a little bit of heat for it. But the reason that the Second Amendment was codified in the U.S. Constitution, the right to keep and bear arms, was not for hunting, and it wasn't even for personal safety only. It was so that the American people could stand up against their own government if they needed to. That's why we have the Second Amendment. That's the history. Do the research for yourself. The founders said we are not going to allow the populace to be unarmed, because that's how tyrannical governments can suppress and turn a free people into a slave people. So that's why they didn't let slaves own firearms. They didn't want an insurrection of the slaves. So people don't have the right to own a tank. People don't have the right to own a fighter jet. People might have the right to own a gun that would allow them to defend themselves against a government that goes crazy. It's a philosophical discussion we can have another time, but I wanted you to remember the history. And since this is being so politicized, that is the politics of why we have the Second Amendment. It's not just self-defense, it's the defense against our government if our government should seek to oppress us. I've got to take a break. We're going to talk about somebody who died. A villain by most counts, but they're trying to lionize him into a hero. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Let me read to you a couple of passages from Psalm 12. You, Lord, will keep the needy safe and will protect us forever from the wicked, who strut about freely when what is vile is honored by the human race. On every side the wicked prowl as vileness is exalted among the children of men. The wicked strut about on every side when vileness is exalted among the sons of men. And then finally, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. A man died recently. We didn't get to cover it because of all these other big news items, but I want to at least dedicate this one segment. Here's what his widow said. He was an American hero, a pioneer, a kind and humble soul who opened up his life and home to the world. I felt how much he loved me. I loved him so much. I am so grateful. He gave me life. He gave me direction. He taught me kindness. I will feel eternally grateful to have been on his side, holding his hand and telling him how much I love him. He changed my life. He saved my life, and he made me feel loved every single day. That is Crystal Hefner, the widow of Hugh Hefner, the founder and publisher of Playboy, the magazine Playboy. So here we have people in the media industry, in the news industry, who are trying to say that Hugh Hefner was in fact a hero. When he passed away, there was a debate. Was he a misogynist, a woman hater? Was he a hero? Did he help free people from the ancient Christian sexual mores that have guided the human race? I'm going to come at this from a little bit different angle. I believe he was a villain, without question. But most sin in the world is the direct result of the abuse of something beautiful. God made the human body. God made men handsome, made women beautiful. Men find women physically attractive. It's part of how the human race goes on. Oh, she's beautiful. I want to get to know her. I want to marry her. We get married. We have babies. The human race goes on. Okay? Adam saw Eve, and he said, whoa, man, woman. So this is the way God made it. It's the abuse of human sexuality that is the sin. God made food. It is the abuse of food that counts for gluttony. God made the ability to have alcohol, wine. It is the abuse of alcohol that is the sin and where people get into trouble. Are you following me? You can look at things like this microphone. It serves a good purpose. But if I steal the microphone or if I covet the microphone, that's where I get into trouble. So Hugh Hefner abused the beauty of women and helped pave the way for a pornographic, hedonistic culture that has destroyed or greatly harmed hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of lives. And God only knows how many people are in trouble eternally because of opening that door and having this vileness praised and exalted among the sons of men. The wicked strut about on every side when what is vile is honored among men. That's what we saw with Hugh Hefner, with those who were praising him after his death. May God have mercy on his soul. May God have mercy on his soul. I'll be right back. What Would Muhammad Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Muhammad Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, What Would Muhammad Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. Children are the heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. Happy is the man whose quiver is full of them. He shall not be ashamed when he quarrels with his enemy in the gates. Thus from the Psalms, I believe it's Psalm 123, I'm quoting it from memory. Children are the heritage of the Lord. There was a recent study that was spoken about, written about in The Economist, a very famous British magazine, talking about childlessness in so-called developed countries, America, Western Europe. And it showed overall the number of women who have no children going up. And what struck me, among other things in the study, was the authors trying to talk about who was happier. And it seemed like in some countries that people without children were happier, as if that was the goal. And this kind of neatly ties in with our last segment about Hugh Hefner, the separation of human sexuality from procreation. Okay? God made sex. He's not embarrassed to talk about sex. But part of why he created sex was to continue the human race. He commanded Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. And as far as I know, he never rescinded the command. And thus lies the problem. In our hedonistic, self-centered culture, we have people like this who are trying to discuss children as if they were my trinket. Their existence is about whether or not they make me happy. No, their existence is about they're the fruit, or rather they're the heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. It's about an eternal soul, or an immortal soul, being created and living forever in heaven. I wish I had more time. We'll come back to this on another day. All I know is that when I started in my pro-life work, a lot of the reasons that I found Christians were not having babies were the same reasons that some people were aborting their babies. And that ought to make us have pause right there. God bless you.